all kind. I love music. I was at one point considered like, the grand dame of hip hop for the pen. Elliot Wilson, Danielle Smith, like we came up in that era, Kevin Powell. So I can never like, oh, I'm going to denigrate everybody. But I'm like, when you know better, you do better. And I just feel like in your soul, there should be you should squirm when you open your mouth to address another person. To me, it's like watching Tyree get beaten to death by 5 men and one white man stand on the side saying, kick him more. And he got relieved of his duties as well. That's to me the equivalent verbally, and words are powerful. In the beginning was the word became flesh. If it was not so, it would not be written. And when God said, let there be, whether you believe it or not, it was the word that created life, gave us light, gave us water, gave us everything. And if we're going to come out of our mouths with something, you can't tell me creatively, I can't find better words to describe my experience.
I feel you, but at the same time, again, and I'm coming from an artistic standpoint, because when Dr. Black said that, it hit me powerfully too. But then he also said something about, how the students he was talking to couldn't imagine greeting Jesus with the N-word. And the first thing that came to mind for me was Black Jesus on Comedy Central and how hilarious that show was. And so to my mind, the creativity doesn't disappear. It doesn't disappear, and it shouldn't disappear. Like, in other words, yes, you're right. That word was the foundation of it is our destruction. There's no question about it. But the truth is, English in general, our destruction is in it. So if we're going to give our power over to that, then the fact that I'm speaking English means I might as well lay down if I'm going to give the English word all the power to determine my creativity. I believe that all of those words are to be used by creative people. No barriers needed, because I don't want to have even more boundaries on them, because they're finding ways, despite the violence of the fact that English was used to make me legally treated as a chattel. That is what English does in relationship to me. So if I'm going to just give it over to the fact that this is what the meaning of the word is originally and act as if artists can't adjust that, then I'm giving away power that I don't think we need to give away. And I also will say this. I think that we have to acknowledge there's no getting away from the fact that we are human. And that means that we are going to be affected by the anti-Blackness and racism. And part of what that means to me is making room for our humanity means that part of how I liken the N-word is like, it's the same way that as I look through our history, beginning with Frederick Douglass, I see these amazing race men who are married to white women. Am I going to pretend that that has nothing to do with anti-Blackness and racism? No. But at the same time, am I going to act as if they didn't make a contribution? To my mind, that is how the N-word works for me when it comes to art.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly, but I'm not going to say I love you. I'm not going to say that you're wrong, because that's how you feel. That's how you feel. I think that's apples and oranges, or apples and pickles. Actually, to me, I'm saying to me, and I think that's valid to me. I don't think that is a relationship, at all. But to you, what I'm saying has no relationship to what you're thinking. And that's fine, because we don't have to agree on this. So, but I just feel like there's something inherently not right with you not feeling comfortable using a word that you want to give agency to everybody else to use.
Well, for
why don't you use it?
It has everything to do with how much I value artists and creativity.
No, but why don't you, Dr. Mitchell, you're creative. Why don't you use the word?
It doesn't even feel natural to me, because I didn't grow up in a household where it was used. But I know that there are artists that I think the world of that it did. And so for me to operate as if that should be one less tool in their tool belt, it's the same thing for me in terms of I'm not going to act as if my understanding that anti-Blackness is part of the reason why all these powerful race men have white wives. I know that that's part of the reason, but that doesn't mean that
you're okay with it though. No, we don't reject them. I'm not rejecting anybody, but we should acknowledge that is a dysfunction. That is a defect. Definitely.
But what I'm saying is, we all navigate this violently racist society in different ways. And so part of how they navigate it is getting that white woman, even though they could have had a black woman just as light. Okay.
Right.
And part of the way that some people navigate it is that they use the N-word. And if that is
but that's dysfunction. Do we stay in dysfunction or do we try to get better? Do we try to get whole? My thing is wholeness. I'm about wholeness, wellness, community, all of that. That's dysfunction. You picking on purpose. I'm not talking about love. Loving versus Virginia. They loved each other. That's great. But they are going for, and we can go down the list because there's some modern day versions of that right now. Hi, Kenya Barris and a bunch of other people who pick people because it validates something. And let me not do that to Kenya Barris because I don't know his motivation. So I apologize to you publicly, Kenya Barris. But, I could probably give you a list of people who willfully go because of the deficiencies in themselves. That to me is not wellness. That's dysfunction. And I'm saying when you know better, I just talked to Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, who discovered Islam, and it changed his whole perspective on life. And he said, as he read more, he got more in. I'm looking at, should we not want to be better when you know better? Should we not do better when you know better?
I understand that, but my thing about it is about not having our assumptions about where we've gotten in relationship to the N-word, that should be the standard for the artists, and that we should be having people believe that they are bad for the community.
Yes, they are. Lil Boosie's bad for the community. I'm going to say it with my full chest, and anybody putting beats under depraved lyrics that our children can repeat because like the ABCs, it is the soundtrack of their lives, is destructive to our community. And anything that's destructive to our community, we should not stand in solidarity with, period, full stop. That's how I feel. I'm not changing how I feel about that because I know on that is coming from that place. I want us all to be free, and this doesn't free us. But I respect your position.